Hello, Western New York. And let's take a look at some of my bushes. Might want to do a little bit of work on this. And let's see here. What else? The forsythia is looking good. And oh my God! Some maniac's been at my roses! Okay, guys, which one do you mess with it? On up to it. Confession? I was said kid that messed with these roses. You know? You know, got a pair of pruning shears, did some trimming, cut off everything that was dead, you know, down to about, that means like, not even, within a foot of the ground. And you might wonder, why did he do that? Quite simple. Pretty much everything above the green was dead. Very much. And there might be a few more things I need to take out. Because they're dead, At least anything that's brown. And so, maple tree. And the idea behind pruning is, one, you're removing the dead stuff. That's first and foremost. Second thing, you're removing anything that's diseased. You're removing anything that's broken. Anything that's crossing, that's gonna cause you an issue or three in the future. And the way things are right now, most of these should send out another shoot or two, which will grow out, basically reform a bush or two, and produce the flowers, ideally. Doesn't always work. Did a little bit of work over here with this particular rose. Remove the dead stuff. And let's see here. The miniature roses along in here, again, trimmed them down. Alternatively, another trick I found that does work is, ironically enough, a lawnmower. That trick actually did pretty good last year. The honeyberries look like they're coming along nicely. Wonder if they're going to produce any fruit this year. Wonder what's going to happen with the blueberries, because I don't know what's going on with them. I never do, really. So I might get lucky, get myself enough blueberries to make at least a pie. My grandma's like, Andrew, see about getting me a bunch of blueberries. I want to make a pie. Don't know about that one. And I hope so. Yeah, that wasn't doing me any good. Well, at least now the energy is going to be sent straight up this. That's the idea behind pruning, actually, is to redirect energy from bad growth into good growth. And as it is, I see a twig I might think about cutting off. There's always a few twigs you think you might want to think about cutting off. You know, I trimmed this rose right here. Well, I may want to do a little bit more trimming on that one. Trim it down to about here. I might do that afterwards. Garden's coming along pretty nicely. I mean, if you've seen my previous video, most of this is doing pretty good. Of course, as I look at it, I see spots that I'm going to seriously trim back. I think I missed the window of opportunity to do. But then again, if I was to trim here, wouldn't need to worry about this growing too much longer. Although I could stick that in the ground and get something like this. Hinamaki Reds seem to be doing okay. Oregon Champions, again, doing okay. I'll know in the next few weeks what the grapes look like. Although the wild one looks like it's doing pretty good. Of course, what do you expect from a wild one that just grows only to produce its seed? Didn't really bother this one too much. It's got its growth coming on. Although I did prune out most of the stuff that's dead down in here. I mean, there's one or two that twigs that need to be dealt with. Most of that was okay as well. Trimmed out some of the dead stuff, and one of the canes was like crossing twice. Might be another one I might end up cutting out, but we'll see what happens. Brown Eye Seasons look like they're doing fine, spreading like crazy. The Sedums is doing well. Let's see, what do we? Actually, that's the lupine, I think. This rose here is doing pretty good too. This rose, trimmed it down. It had a nice, it had a thing that was going up to here. Over here again, more trimming. Trimmed the one right down, trimmed, like I said, I mean, I just trimmed it. I mean, that's what, you trim these things down real short and they'll, whoop, they'll bush out on you. That's another thing I did was put in a couple of daffodils. Put it one there. One here. And one here. Mind you, these were the things that had been forced in a container, you know, from the local store. So, probably not going to get a flower off of it this year. Next year, hopefully. Although, like I said, of course, one thing I'm thinking about doing is if the gladiolas that I got in here don't come up this year, putting in tulips, daffodils, crocuses, and whatever other perennial bulb I can find. In along in here. Maybe adding some more along in here. I certainly put in some in along in here to about here. Probably won't go any further because kind of need well, need to put a stand here for the air conditioner, keep it from falling out of the window. And of course, probably over here, throwing some more bulbs. Of course, you know, the gladiolas come back. No sense in bothering with that. let's take a look at the rest of my plants. The fall gold raspberry seem to be doing okay, although not too sure about this one. Might end up cutting it out. It's kind of leaning down anyways. I don't see any new growth popping up over in here yet. You know, give it a couple of weeks, give it a week or two. Let's see here. Strawberries are looking good. A lot of raspberries seem to be doing fine. You know, got some growth coming along. We'll see what happens with them. I mean, I might take the pruners and cut off a few of the, you know, make them a little bit shorter. Make things easier. Although, as I said, most of this stuff looks good, reasonably good. There's some growth on the black raspberries. You know, I mean, as you can see, this is doing nice. Got some good soil right in here. Also, it's a nice, sunny, southern slope. That's always good. Or so I've heard. Kind of have to be careful with these because they got thorns that are annoying. But the thorns have a job, you know, that's to make sure nothing eats these things before their time. This is doing pretty good. Got some raspberry canes popping up right in there. That'll be good. Hopefully this one makes it, but then again, if a cane is dead, cut it out. Well, this one here's doing reasonably well. Although there's a couple smaller canes down in the middle of this thing that I might want to cut out, preferably before it gets all green on me. Can't say if anything's going on with the elderberry bush at the moment. Neighbors. And a couple of raspberry canes popping up. Small ones, you know. And of course, got some more down here by, well, might have some growth popping for the this elderberry bush. And of course got more raspberries. And mind you, this ground here is not the best ground. You know, I mean, as you can plainly see there's a lot of junk in here, and yet life finds a way. You know, it produces raspberry canes popping up pretty much everywhere. I hope I didn't step on any. On the other hand, I got so many. One or two won't hurt me much. And, well, you got a little bit of green coming up down there. That'll be nice. Chokecherry's got some green on it, too. That's nice to see. Keeps the birds away. Got some more growth back in here. Got a couple of canes I might want to trim down. You always want to trim out the dead ones. No, I got a cane in there. Don't know if there's any cane. Well, there's some green growth popping up on these, which is good. You know, I'll be able to enjoy some black raspberries again. Of course, one thing I'm going to have to keep up on is making sure that this stuff doesn't invade the yard. Not that I'd complain too much. And, well, got some more canes popping up down there. It's good. Got growth on most of this. Starting to come along anyways. So I'm at the base of this. And of course over in here, got plenty of bulbs and whatnot popping up. You know, they're starting to send their flowers shoot up. That might be something to work on next year. A lot of this, you know, I like to get this thing cleaned up. I'll be honest about that. Yeah. Whew. Got a lot done. And hopefully I might have a treat for you guys later this weekend. I might actually do some actual gardening. And, because, to be frank, it is the beginning of May, and there's some things that you kind of want to put in the ground now if you're going to expect to get any good, decent growth out of them. Said things being peas, and I got a number of peas I'd like to put in the ground. And now that's just great. I'm glad they weren't in a piece of metal. They'll catch you just right. Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is come out here, bring out my rake, and clear a section of ground, you know, about a foot or two away from this fence, and start on some peas. Because let's see here, I got a lot of fence that I could utilize. This is going to be a pain to deal with. Because let's face it, this is a wild rose, and it's starting to wake up. Another thing to note, this goldenrod's still got plenty of seeds. Of course, I can hopefully work on this, later. Hopefully before it all gets woken up, I mean, probably still going to be woken up, But, want to trim this back if possible. Well, if possible. And if not, trim it back to the point where I can manage to walk around. There's some long canes on that thing. And hopefully hopefully I'll get to doing some mowing, and I can utilize this fence, because this fence kept out goats. And I don't need it to be real strong, but I can certainly utilize it to help my help peas to grow up, beans to grow up, cucumbers to grow up, a whole lot of other things that need a little bit of extra support. If nothing else, glad I was out here yesterday and cleaned most of this up. I mean, there's still some glass in here, and there's some rotten wood, but I can deal with that. Yeah, and well, we'll see what happens. And in case you're wondering where in the world the bits of roses that I cut off went, they went here. And well, much like all the other stuff, all the other prunings that I've been dealing with, waste not, want not, or however that phrase goes. Who knows? They might root. If it puts enough dirt and compost on this thing. But we'll see what happens. Well, this is Western New York. Please subscribe if you like this, post comments, click the like button and all that sort of stuff. Okay? Goodbye.